All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Around the Draft. It is Mock Draft Monday. Of course, we're going to do a mock draft. Also, just kind of need some time to get through all these defensive linemen, both interior and on the edge, before we start getting back into player rankings. So, we're going to do a two-round mock. Should have been doing some more mock draft Monday stuff probably earlier in the year, but this is when things are really going to start heating up. A lot of analysts are putting out mock drafts more. So I saw that Daniel Jeremiah might be putting his second one out here soon, which those are always interesting to see because his are based on rumors, what he's hearing, a little bit of what he thinks. So kind of look out for that. But joining me as always, Jake, Dalton, how you guys doing?
Good. Shane, I got to ask you, how did you feel about Field Yates's mock with Jackson Dart?
Oh boy, I didn't feel anything good. I'll tell you that much. I understand the thought process of what he's hearing from around the league. Like people are looking for that third quarterback. Dart has some of the traits you'd want to look at, but for me, having him not even in my top 10 when we initially
Yeah.
did the top 10 quarterbacks list, we'll see where he kind of slots in once I do my final rankings of everything later on. But it's certainly not somebody I'd be taking anywhere close to the 21st pick for anybody. But no, yeah, my Steelers, I hope that is not something that's on their radar. But we'll see. I believe they took Kenny Pickett 20th overall, so who am I to say? Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't get the Dart hype. Like, I just don't. Like, I mean, he's QB3 on my list right now, but with a round 3 grade.
Right.
Not a strong QB3.
Like,
This is QB3 this year isn't quite QB3 last year. So
no, there's
Put
a
it that way.
cliff between 2 and 3.
yeah, so I'm certainly there with the quarterbacks in general, and Dart's not even that high, and that's mostly because I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt until I have reason to do so. But we'll see. Uh, but no, that one certainly wasn't happening. Let's just say I won't be doing that, and neither I'm assuming you won't be doing that, Jake, for the purposes today, because in our mock draft, we're doing 2 rounds. First of all, got to get some more players in there. Got to see what teams are doing in the second round too. And we are going to go down the board. Each of us we'll start off with a pick. I'll be going first, then Dalton, then Jake, and just kind of repeat that process. So we'll all get our chance to pick a bunch of players today. And of course, if we get stuck, if we want opinions, we want to kind of throw it out to everybody, by all means do so. That'll obviously add a lot of discussion here, so that'll be fun. But unless you guys have anything specific you want to throw out there before we get started, we can kind of jump into things. It should be a good time. All right, good to go. Let's throw the mock up here. Using PFF, of course, which we don't have to worry about doing anything weird like our last episode because we're making every pick. We don't have to worry about them doing any weird shit, Dalton. I know you in particular, like, God damn it, why do they have to be this way?
It's so bad.
It can be bad sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Great product overall. Like the idea of it's awesome. Needs a little bit of tinkering still. I'm sure Trevor is very well known. That Trevor Sickma, of course, lead analyst over there at the draft team. I'm sure he's very well aware of that, and they're trying to work on that. But again, for today, won't have to worry about that. We make control every pick, every team. Should be good to go. But again, I will be starting us off. I chose to have the first pick because at this point, I feel like if you ask a lot of draft analysts across all different types of media, us, major guys everywhere, the quarterbacks are not obviously the best players in this class, but there's just been the idea of, are the Titans going to be willing to go into next year with either Will Levis or a veteran or whoever it is, a quarterback, when there's a coach who already has the first pick after his first year coaching the team and has an ownership that has clearly been willing to shake things up, even if it's good or bad to do so. Will they take a chance on not taking a quarterback that might extend the careers of those guys there in charge? Or will they take a player that is worthy of this type of pick, which, again, not really one in this class of quarterback. I am of the camp, personally, that if I was in charge of this team, I want to get as many good players on this team as soon as I can to build a foundation for a quarterback that might be worth a pick of this caliber. Because no matter what they add in this class, I don't think this Titans team is going to be particularly good next year. If they do draft a quarterback and that player is very good, we saw what Jaden Daniels did for Washington, but are we expecting that from these guys? Not really, at least not me. So to me, I think the best thing you can do is take the best player in the class, which you could go with. There's 2 guys in particular that kind of gets mentioned in that conversation for me at this point until I get to see both of them. I'm going to lean on, a playmaking defender, specifically an edge rusher. I'm going to go Abdul Carter here.
Oh, wow.
one. I think Travis Hunter is very much in play here as well. And when I get to my evaluations of the corners and edge rushers here soon, my opinion here could be flipped. But I know a lot of people in the space have Carter at this point, and because I haven't watched either of them specifically for their main positions, a corner and edge, I'll kind of settle on edge there. So, Dalton, you're up at 2 here, so you do have a decision to make as well. Now, again, this is what we would do. I should mention that, like, we are going on what we would do here. For some players that we haven't maybe watched yet, we'll kind of defer to kind of what we're hearing, what we think we're going to think of that player. But especially for picks that we know of and we've watched these guys, we're going to be doing what we would do in these teams' positions. So
yeah. So I'm kind of with you with these quarterbacks. I'm kind of with you with the Titans where they have so many needs. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are going to make a huge change for them. However, the Browns, I think, are in kind of a different position because they have a decent amount of talent on the roster, assuming they don't all request to be traded out of there.
Yeah, how many of them are on the team at this time next year?
Yeah. But, like, I do think if you get an upgraded quarterback, you can turn things around relatively quickly there, at least having some competent quarterback play. And the Browns are in a situation where they can really only get one through the draft because they can't pay another starting caliber quarterback right now with how much money is going to Deshaun Watson. The cartoonish amount of money that he is getting.
Yeah, they're definitely eating their vegetables right now with that contract, trying to make sure they can get out of it soon. So there's that element of it. But yeah, it's tough if you're the Browns. Like, a quarterback could make the difference. We saw what even the up and down, but mostly up during the regular season play of Joe Flacco did for them 2 years ago. And that team is still mostly the same. Now there's guys who are older who don't want to play for them anymore. In the case of Myles Garrett, we'll see how that plays out ultimately. But yeah, I mean, a quarterback that can actually play would potentially completely reverse the fortunes of this team.
Yeah. So there's down to 2 guys, but the problem is Cam Ward, I think, is a little bit too much like Deshaun Watson as a player. To be clear, as a player.
Yeah, we always have to
off the field.
That. Yeah.
But I worry that you just don't know exactly what you're getting there. How's it going to work in that offense? But I think if you take Shedeur Sanders and plug him into that Browns offense, it's at least going to be an statistically average NFL offense from day one. So give me Shedeur.
All right. Yeah, I do agree that if you're going this direction with the Browns, if this is what they do, Sanders makes the most sense from the biggest need they have, which is competency. Because, yeah, while Ward offers more upside for sure, I think that his play style does mirror Watson's a little too much, especially closer to the version we've seen with the Browns, where you don't know if that's going to work, right? Like, he very well could, and he could end up looking a lot more like Watson did prior to his stint with the Browns. But if he doesn't, you get in trouble very fast. Your offense sinks pretty fast. So, especially with potential changes coming to the offensive line and everything else, it's a whole thing. So I don't blame you there. Jake, you're up now with the New York Giants. Now you have a decision to make as well. You, in this position, if you're the GM of this team, if you take over for Joe Shayne, you are kind of fighting for your job because it feels like despite being kept, the Mariners don't really seem interested in keeping you based on the conversations they were having at the end of the season. So do you take the swing at the quarterback? Do you hope to upgrade in free agency? How do you kind of feel about the direction of this pick if you're making it for them?
If I'm the Giants, I would try to bring in a QB through free agency.
Okay.
But I think that the Giants in real life would probably just take either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders here. That's what I would feel. I personally really want to take Travis Hunter.
Right. And again, this is what we would do. So this is why I'm specifying, like, if you're in the GM chair, do you bet on the fact that you can find a competent starter in free agency and you take the player that you actually think is the best player on the board? Or do you try to save yourself by taking quarterback and hope that Brian Dable can turn that player into an effective starter very quickly? Let's say that.
Yeah. I think for this mock, I'm going to say that if I'm the GM, I would probably try to sign a Justin Fields maybe in free agency. And then if Travis Hunter is here, I would probably take Travis Hunter.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do.
Again, I
But
think
in real life, I could very well see them just taking a QB here.
I think that's the most likely thing for sure. But I do think the Giants are kind of the pivot point of like, if let's say the Giants don't attack that position in free agency at all, especially, and like if they do, maybe it's someone who isn't really viewed as like an actual starter. Maybe it's somebody who can play for you if you want to sit a rookie for a while, but he's not going to hold on to that job most likely if he tries to play a full season. That makes that third pick very interesting because if the quarterbacks do go 1 and 2, which again I'm at this point don't think is going to be the case. Let's say they do. What in the world do the Giants do that? Like that's the problem for them is they don't control their destiny here. There's 2 quarterbacks that are likely to go somewhere in the first round, and they have the third pick, so there's no guarantee that they get either one of them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm back up on the clock here at the Patriots, and the board again, like because 2 quarterbacks didn't go off the board here, like we typically would see. There's one less player, Abdul Carter and Hunter. Usually one of those guys could be on the board if the first 2 picks were quarterbacks, right? Or 2 of the picks were quarterbacks. So it's a little bit different than a lot of mocks might have at this point. But to me, it kind of, if I'm making this pick, it comes down to 2 guys for me. And the problem is, even though I have Will Campbell behind Kelvin Banks in my tackles, Campbell does provide, I think, more versatility. So I think he's certainly in play here. But the guy that I kind of feel like I have to go with at this point is Mason Graham. Like, they just need difference-making players. And if I'm not taking, like, I don't really view McMillan as a true difference maker. Gentry's obviously great, but it's too early for a running back for a team that doesn't have enough pieces around him. I haven't gotten to the corners and safeties yet. So, Will Johnson, guys like that, are not quite – I'm not in a position to take them quite yet. I have watched a lot of Mason Graham for this week's episode coming up. We are doing the interior defensive line next week, everybody. So for me, I think I'm going to take Graham here, pair him with hopefully a healthy Barmore for them next year, kind of see what his future looks like, but beef up that interior defensive line. We've got the Jaguars here for you, Dalton.
So heading into this pick, like I was looking at, corner possibly, maybe something with a lineman if the corners are off the board. But Will Johnson falling to 5 here, this feels like a no-brainer. He's my top pure corner in this draft. I really think he is just, for me, the difference is I think he plays man better than Hunter plays zone. I think that's the biggest thing with Johnson. But yeah, I think he slot him in, and he's immediately going to be a star corner for any team. So we'll give him to the Jags.
All right, there you go. What do you make, by the way, because we haven't really talked much about some of the mocks that have come out. Like a lot of mocks are lower on him. There's a lot of people citing that they don't think he has the speed that they want from a corner who plays in the style that he has. The injuries obviously are a little bit of a question mark with him too. Do you think you saw that as well? Because I haven't watched the corner yet. So
I mean, so the speed. I mean, he broke on the ball really well. Like in zone, he's still like. So I mean, if the concern is long speed,
right?
To stay with in like press coverage, maybe, but like I also think he has the physicality where I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue, and I think he's fast enough to hold up in press coverage when asked to do that. But I mean, if you're drafting him and then asking him to play press all the time, you're probably not getting the most out of him. Also, the league's kind of moving away from that.
Yeah, there's a lot of off-man and zone schemes.
Which off-man and zone, he is going to be phenomenal.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. I was just curious because I know you've watched a lot of him. I haven't quite yet, so I wanted to see what you thought on him. But moving to the Raiders pick, and of course we had to make sure one of the Raiders guys had this pick. Jake, what would you do, of course, if you were in charge of this new Raiders regime, which is certainly an interesting one, if nothing else. I'm not sure yet how good I think it is, but it certainly is interesting, if nothing else. I will give them that. And I guess probably, at least in my opinion, a better situation than I kind of expected them to create, maybe. But that's a conversation for another show, another day. What would you be doing knowing everything you know with how the Raiders are kind of going through this right now, if you were in charge of building this team here with Big Six.
Can you scroll up on the first 5 picks real quick? I just want to make
Yep.
sure that he wasn't taken.
So Carter, Sanders,
I'm running
Huntley.
the card in for Cam Ward.
Ooh, there we go. The other quarterback.
If you would have told me at the season's end that the Raiders at 6 could get either Sanders or Ward, I would be very happy. So
Fair enough. And I think
I would be happy with how this plays out.
I really think that this is a more real scenario than people are giving it credit for at this point, that one of these two. Now, my guess is it would be Sanders, just based on what we're hearing around the league, that the potential of Ward is going to get him drafted higher than what Sanders is going to be drafted. But getting either one of them, I think, for the Raiders is obviously a shot at finally figuring this quarterback situation out long term potentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't blame you at all for making that pick. Again, potential for it to not go so well, but hey, you currently employ Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. So, you know, one of those two could probably hold it down for a bit if Ward isn't quite ready, but I don't know if it matters that much, frankly.
Yeah, it's not like the Raiders are going to hit their other pick anyways.
Yeah, well,
they're going to draft Tyree Wilson again.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm back on the clock with the Jets here now. The Jets are interesting because I think if if one of the quarterbacks made it here, like if the Raiders didn't take a quarterback, this obviously is a place that makes sense for one of them too, considering the Aaron Rodgers situation is now resolved in the sense that we know he won't be playing for them, right? And hopefully he won't be playing for my team. I'll tell you that much. I'm not interested in that. And we know he won't be playing for the Jets, so quarterback's going to be a big need for them in one way or another. I've heard all sorts of different options for the Jets that people throw out. I think looking at how things have gone so far, it's kind of tough for me not to consider an offensive weapon to kind of build up that, because you're going to lose Devontae Adams most likely. I don't think that they keep him on the roster with Rodgers gone. Like, I think the money doesn't make sense for them to keep him. I think he'll probably want to go elsewhere too. Now, who that ultimately ends up being that takes him, or what they do with him, is up for grabs at this point. But I think he'll be gone. So a receiver could make sense. Tyler Warren's getting mocked here a lot too. I think if I'm doing that, as much as like I think these receivers are pretty good, it's a little early for me on the receivers. I might take Tyler Warren right here, man. Like, the amount of things you could do with him in this offense, for whoever the quarterback ends up being, whatever type of offense you ultimately run, I think that he makes a ton of sense schematically for them with the amount of things he can do. And he just helps the overall offense in every way possible for whoever it ends up being long term. So, and this feels like a type of player that Aaron Glenn would be like, yeah, I could work with this guy. Like, this guy would fit for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take him off the board here much earlier than we normally do, but I'm fine with doing it here at 7.
On Devontae Adams, though, you know where he's going, Shane. He's following Aaron Rodgers.
True. If it's to Pittsburgh, I don't care that I get Devontae Adams. I truly don't. I would rather not have Devontae Adams and have a different quarterback. Like, that's the point I'm at with Aaron Rodgers. Because it's one thing to be an idiot. It's another thing to be an idiot and bad at football. And I can't have both. I can have one. Like, if you're really good at football, you can be an idiot. Just look at George Pickens.
Oh, you've had that, yeah.
Yeah, we know how that is. But you also could be the smartest person on the planet. If you're not that great at football, I'll still take you because you might be able to help other things out, right? Like, might be a good coach on the field type. He's neither at this point. I don't need to have him. But that's, again, a conversation for a different show, probably what I'll be doing in 2 days for the Secret Show. So I'm sure I'll be talking about that entirely too much until that decision is made. But no, I do think that pick makes a lot of sense for the Jets there. And Dalton, you're up here with the Panthers at 8.
Yeah. So this has to be defense.
I tend to agree. Yeah.
Panthers are so bad in defense right now, and they have so many needs. Like, I like how it's listed as defensive back. It's just listed, and there's a great one in this class that can, I think, move around a lot in terms of safety, nickel, wherever you need him to play, and that's Malachi Starks.
Yeah, I felt like that was the direction you're going to go here, and it does make sense for them because they just need playmakers and guys who have the talent level to be difference makers on a defense that, frankly, wasn't NFL caliber for like 99% of the season last year. Like, as soon as Brown went down for them, the defensive tackle, it was just over, right? Like they didn't have anybody left. Like Clowney had a decent back half of the year because he is a veteran edge, so like he played well, but didn't get a whole lot of anything out of anyone else. So understand that one for sure. So we'll get Starks off the board here. Saints now at 9. Could go anywhere here, Jake. Good luck with this one. Like your picks, admittedly, are some of the better ones to be mocking for in this. So like, I'm glad that you got it because it'll be fun for you. But I mean, the directions you could go here, you could almost throw any name that's like sort of in this range out. I'd be like, yeah, I could see that making sense. So where does your mind immediately go to? You think here? Then?
I'm thinking Tato Eroa
Makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately for Chris Olave, his head is Tua-esque, I would say at this point. It's getting to that point where I'm worried about his.
Let somebody besides Olave.
Yeah, literally someone else.
Because he gets hit like Jaden Daniels.
He does for some reason. He's not even that small. He's like a normal size receiver. I don't know why he gets hit so damn hard all the time. But yeah, they definitely need some help at receiver because down the stretch, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Although I was gonna say, yeah, maybe they got Valdez-Scantling. They can run back. He had really good.
That's just weird stretch. Derek Carr stuff. Though.
That's true. Yeah, it's always somebody like that. That's like usually it doesn't last beyond that season though. Usually, so
he got so many guys paid though. Zay Jones, Nelson Aguilar.
Zay Jones.
That's very true. Oh yeah, the Nelson Aguilar year at the Raiders. I was like, I just assumed he didn't play anymore until I saw.
That was one of my favorite football memories in the last
I'm sorry
5-10
to
years.
hear that.
Just Nelson Aguilar being really good.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's one of your favorite ones.
Well, look, I don't got a lot of.
That's the point. That's why I said I'm sorry to hear that.
That was hard.
No, yeah,
because he was terrible.
Just terrible. Couldn't catch a cold, a pass. Nobody. I mean, there's the clip of that guy who was like at the scene of a fire, and he was like, "Good thing that they said something about Nelson Aguilar." I'm like, that's devastating.
Unlike Aguilar.
Yeah, it's devastating. No, but yeah, if you want to go McMillan here, I get it. A big wide receiver for something different than what they have makes a lot of sense. So, plus you get the offensive minded Kellen Moore in there. He's probably going to want to build up that offense, whether it's trenches or receiver play there. So, and I'm up with the Bears now. There's a couple players that make a ton of sense right off the bat, but it's going to take a lot for me not to want to do the fun thing. I'm not going to lie. The thought of Ben Johnson coaching Ashton Genty entices me greatly, is all I'm going to say there. I know it's not probably what they should do. Let's just be honest about that. But the idea of it definitely intrigues me to the point where I'm going to have to probably convince myself to not do it. Because there is other players here that obviously make a ton of sense and could be huge difference makers for them. I'm probably going to go Will Campbell here. Again, the versatility, even though I do think Banks is a little bit better as a tackle in my rankings personally, I do think he is a better fit to play all across the offensive line, which I think is going to be a big need for this team as they kind of sort out who they want to play where, who are long-term pieces. Is Braxton Jones going to be the left tackle long-term? Do they have anything at guard they want to do? Like, I think it just gives them a lot of options there. And I do think he's the best overall lineman in the class if we're just considering everything there. But, man, Genty and Johnson would be so fun. But I do think that they'll look to upgrade the running back room elsewhere later on in the class. So I will go Campbell here for the Bears. And Dalton, you're up with the Niners here.
So Campbell is definitely going to be the pick here, I think, if he fell to the Niners. Now, the PFF thing to do, the PFF mock simulator would take Genty here, of course.
It would, yes, despite the fact that we don't know the future of Christian McCaffrey, and also this team needs help everywhere else because this team can, when they choose to, not pay Christian McCaffrey, trade for him, can churn out running back yardage like nobody's business with anybody they choose to. So probably not worth the 11th pick, but I understand why you would think they would do that because they would.
So this is tricky here. Offensive line, kind of big need for them. So is defensive line. And it's kind of tricky here because both the next two best offensive linemen for me are Ursery and Banks, and they're both kind of pure left tackles. And left tackle's the one spot that, assuming Trent Williams is healthy, looks pretty good.
Right.
So I don't know if you're the Niners, you find yourself picking this high up. I don't know if you want to take someone that's going to sit for a year behind Williams, possibly. One that I'm considering. Nah, we're still going to go. We're going to Kelvin Banks here because I think he can play right tackle.
I think he could move to the right. He has his feet and his ability with his athleticism makes me feel like he'd be a good guy to try to convert to right tackle if he needed to. I think he has the physical makeup to do that. And also, I think he can play guard, honestly. Like, I don't think he is as good of a guard as Will Campbell would be. It's one of the reasons why he isn't the pick of 10 for me on last pick, but I think he could do it if you asked him to. I think he has enough play strength to do that, just not quite as much as Campbell would have, I think, there. So Kelvin Banks here to the Niners. Need the offensive line help for sure. So, all right, Jake, so you have the opportunity to do the easiest thing on the planet if you choose to do so. However, I know that we have avoided that in the past just because they do have plenty of other needs. But if you were the Cowboys, do you do the easiest thing on the planet? Do you do the thing that Jerry Jones undoubtedly probably wants to do? Or do you do something different here? What do you think? Right? That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
So
I'm gonna do it.
it's Ashton Jets, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it is what it is. The thing that we're gonna probably hear until it doesn't happen, or if it doesn't happen at all, right? So I don't blame you, Ashton Jets.
It'd be funny if they took a running back there and
like,
it wasn't.
well, no, Jetty goes like 10 to the Bears, like I wanted to do, and then they just say, screw it, we're taking whoever, just insert name here. Probably an Ohio State running back because they won the national championship. So like, that's probably what it would be. No, I don't know. That would definitely be an interesting one. Now I'm up with the Dolphins. I just noticed that I'm gonna pick for like pretty much the entire AFC East, if not the entire AFC East. I think. I don't know if it'll be that way with the Bills. It might, but that'll be fun. We kind of just did this recently. The Dolphins at 13 though here they're a tough one. Like because I'm making the pick here, it's not as tough because I want to take an offensive lineman for them. Like I really they just need to draft actual offensive linemen. Like we can't keep doing this stuff where they just pretend the offensive line doesn't exist, guys. Come on. I'm speaking to like if Chris Greer can hear me right now, he can't. I know he can't, but please take somebody that weighs 300 plus pounds and can actually move someone in the direction they want to move them. That's all I'm asking you to do some point in this draft early on. That's kind of my biggest thing with this team. Be a real football team for 10 seconds, please. With that rant being considered, I'm going to take Armand Membu here because I think he can stick a tackle long term if you want him to, but I think he is a great athlete that can play out all across the line for you. Whether that's left tackle right away, if Teron Armstead continues to not be able to play football, like that's great. If you move him into guard, totally fine as well. I think he's kind of the best fit for them. But if they were to actually want a player like this, which who knows with them, but for me, I'm going to go ahead and take him here at 13. What do you got,
Speaking of not being a real football team.
Well, I mean, it's in a different way, but also valid.
So if you are just going to roll with Anthony Richardson as your quarterback,
which they seem to be doing.
There's two options here.
Okay.
There is the option of you try to make it easier for him to try to be an NFL quarterback and like make normal routine passes by giving him like a big tight end to hit like Colston Loveland. Mm-hmm. That's one thing you could do.
Right.
Or you could commit to the one thing that he does really well, throw the ball down the field. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I know he can do that. I don't know if he'll even be able to hit Loveland's giant frame. I don't know if he can, but I know if Isaiah Bond runs down the field and beats everybody, he can hit an 80-yard bomb to Isaiah Bond a few times a game.
We're taking Isaiah Bond at the 14th pick.
Yes.
All right,
I love it.
If he runs a sub 4.340, he's going to go this high.
All right, well, here's the thing. I'm just going to pretend I don't.
I love embracing just the.
See, I'm going to pretend I don't see it, and we're just going to move on to the next pick. No, this is one of those picks where when we're doing the live show, if this is one of the things that happens, like where he goes early, I might just like have to remove myself from the situation for a minute and let Dalton be like, well, let me tell you about Isaiah Bond. I'm just gonna be in the background, like banging my head into a door frame.
In this situation, he's fast. He tracks the deep ball well.
Right.
That's all you. That's all that Anthony Richardson can do.
I was like, here's the vision. He doesn't have to do anything good because the only things he does good is the only thing he's ever going to have to do.
Yes.
I'm like, right, but what if Anthony Richardson is out of the league next year after this, and then you just have a guy who just runs and no one can do anything with?
Well, then you shouldn't be drafting.
That's fair.
Then you shouldn't. Anthony Richardson shouldn't be your quarterback. If you don't think he's going to be in the league in a year, he shouldn't be your quarterback.
That's a fair counterpoint, I suppose. So I guess you got me there. Jake, what quarterback are you taking with him? I'm just kidding. Yeah, Jackson Dart. He's the quarterback after the quarterback after the quarterback. No, you're up with.
Gonna learn under
the much older Michael. You're up at 15 here. Bunch of players on the board that I think make a lot of sense for the Falcons, but where do you kind of immediately go to if you're them?
I was worried that Dalton was going to take Mike Green.
Yeah, that's a good.
And I told myself if he did, I was going to take Michael Williams, but he didn't take Mike Green, so I'm going to take Mike Green here. I feel like it's been so long since the Falcons used their first-round pick.
And you'd be right, at least, especially edge rushers, especially. It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
And boy, do they need it. So that's all I'm going to say there. I'm pretty sure it was Lorenzo Carter for, like, most of the season, like, didn't record a pressure. Like, not even like a sack. Like, I think he didn't record like an actual pressure for like a lot of the season, and he didn't play like every snap or anything. But I'm like, you can't play edge for like any significant amount of time and get no pressures. Like, what are we doing here? So yeah, I definitely appreciate the pick. I figured you were gonna go edge rusher, but I was curious. And you had a lot of them available, so go with Mike Green here. For the Cardinals here at pick 16. Definitely need to continue to build up the defensive line. Edge rush room is an interesting one, but I think it still needs a lot of premium talent, ideally. You kind of have a collection of names who do different things well, but no one is like a true like fire breather off the edge type, so you could use someone there. The offensive line still needs kind of build back up too. For me, I'm probably somewhere between Josh Simmons as a tackle. I would move him to right, I think, in that situation, but I'd rather not have to do that with a guy like him. I think he has every ability to play left tackle, assuming the health checks out for him with his knee. Burden would be fun in that receiver room, but I think they have enough there with obviously taking receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. fourth last year. I think, again, I haven't gotten to edges yet, but if I'm taking one here, I know a lot of people like Michael Williams. I haven't gotten to him yet. I'm probably going with Pierce Jr. because, again, they don't have that true, like, wins fast with speed type of edge rusher. They have a lot of guys who are like more run stoppers or edge kind of setters there. So I'll take Pierce Jr. here for them. And then the Bengals are up here for you, Dalton. What are you going to do for the Bengals, who just franchise tagged T. Higgins? We'll see what they ultimately do with him, but they are still looking to keep him, it seems, potentially. Yeah.
Speaking of guys that like Michael Williams a lot, I'm one of them.
All right.
And the Bengals, I don't care who stays with that team or not. They cannot draft a wide receiver here. They cannot do anything other than draft defense.
I agree, because
if they don't, Luther Burger should be allowed to just be a free agent if they don't draft defense here. He should just be allowed to leave. It's not fair. It's not fair to that poor Macaulay Culkin looking generational talent at quarterback.
Hey, Macaulay Culkin's married to Brenda Song. I think he's doing all right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters.
And Joe Burrow looks just like him.
That's fair.
If they don't give him a defense, he deserves to leave.
That's fair.
Because you can't have what happened last year. You just can't. Michael Williams, I think overall is probably the best defensive player still on the board here. Just in the fact that I think the Bengals have a lot of holes and he can fill a lot of them. He's a guy that I think you can move around pretty much anywhere in your front seven. He can be productive, and I think that's kind of what they need right now.
I like the analysis. I will say, just thinking about it more, I think Joe Burrow is like the handsome Squidward version of Squidward to Macaulay Culkin in this
Yeah.
situation. It's probably how I describe it, but I do see the resemblance, unfortunately. For I don't know if it's unfortunate. Honestly, it's not my
Yeah.
take there. But what do you think here, Jake? Up at 18 with the Seahawks, an interesting team for sure. Mostly, I think, pretty decent showing the first season under Mike McDonald. We'll kind of see where they go from here. But what are you thinking for them?
I gotta go offensive line. Could you go to
Yeah, I'm
inside
going to just throw the
offensive line?
whole board up here. Gray Zable's a name that's obviously going to get thrown out a lot. Tyler Booker's been going very early in a lot of mock drafts. Again, I thought he was a very good player. I don't know about as early as he's been getting projected by a lot of people, but I do like his floor, and I do think he has a decent ceiling as a run blocker if he could figure that out. But there's some dudes here that could definitely be a fit for what the Seahawks need.
I think I'm gonna go Zabel.
Okay. Yeah, he's gonna be a really interesting one to see how high he could potentially go because Senior Bowl is
Yeah.
awesome. We've seen this pipeline of small school offensive line specifically from this school work out really well. So like feels like he could go relatively high in this class.
Yeah, I think his versatility will be much needed in Seattle.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm gonna go
there we
Zabel.
go. The Buccaneers at pick 19 for me. Now, this one's interesting because they desperately need more edge help, in my opinion. Like, Yaya Diaby has been a very fun find for them later in the draft, like he was, but they're just not getting enough from that edge group to me. Because the thing with Bulls is his defenses are at their best whenever the pressure gets home quickly and he can kind of use his blitzing more strategically than it is just like I'm setting the house because I can't get pass rush without that, basically. So I'd like to add some edge rush help there, but I wonder if Chris Godwin is going to be on this team, and I think that matters a lot. And I think someone like a Luther Burden, while not exactly like Chris Godwin, obviously, could offer you some of the same after catch ability, work out of the slot. A lot of the time, like offer you some electricity there. With Mike Evans, still producing a lot, obviously, but getting older, and we want to make sure Baker Mayfield continues to be a good quarterback. Because we've had a lot of edge rushers go off the board, you have a Shamar Stewart, which isn't exactly kind of what I think they need. I think they need someone who wins a little quicker at this point, honestly. Diaby's kind of a bigger edge rusher himself, so you kind of want to have a contrast there. I think I'm going to take Burden here and try to juice up this offense a little bit more, especially thinking Godwin might be out the door. What do you got for the?
All right, so it's funny. I'm actually working on AFC West mock draft 2.0 right now.
All right.
Ramble, and I actually just an hour ago just mocked this pick. And funny enough, the guy that I was gonna go with here, I don't think I'm going with because there's some better options actually. The board's looking a lot better than it did when I went through it. And the biggest thing is you got to get Bo Nix weapons.
Yeah.
It was it was painfully clear once we got to the playoffs that that's as far as Bo Nix is going to get you unless you have a loaded roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I mocked Loveland here because, a tight end's a good safety blanket, but I think there's a better pure weapon here in Emeka Egbuka, who I think can give you a lot of different things, and I think that could be that could add a lot of explosiveness to that offense that they really need right now.
Fair enough. I like it. Not as much as I would like this pick to be Emeka Egbuka in the situation. Although there is somebody on the board who I low-key forgot about that I probably would have taken at 19 had I remembered he's on the board because he is my wide receiver 1. But Jake, you were up here with the Steelers. What do you see them doing, or what would you specifically do if you were in charge of the Steelers team? Very curious where you're at with this. I know where I would go, but that doesn't matter right now.
How mad would you be if I took Jackson
I'd be
Dart
very
right
mad simply because I know you don't believe that shit, Jake. That's why I'd be mad. I wouldn't even be mad because you're trying to make fun of Phil Yates for doing it, even though I'm sure he didn't do it for any other reason than because he has heard stuff about that. But no, I would be mad because I know you don't believe it. You wouldn't do it.
Can you go to the receivers?
Yeah.
Interesting. Can you go to
Corners, yeah.
corners?
I got the whole corners and receivers up here right now.
Okay, now can you go to D
There
tackles?
you go.
This will
I'll
be the
just
last
throw
one.
those up separately just so you can see them better. Nolan's still there. Kenneth Grant. All those guys. Derek Harmon.
I'm gonna go. I want to take Jade
Okay.
Barron, maybe for the slot corner role, but I don't think I'm gonna do it because I believe in Beanie Bush
Fair
Jr.
enough. He's got an interesting rookie year, but hopefully he'll get a better chance now that Cam Sutton is hopefully ejected into space. But whatever.
I'm gonna go. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go Io Manor.
Okay. So receiver, but Io Manor. Let me pull him up here. So we'll take him. So yeah, that would have been for me. Would have been Matthew Golden, who for some reason I forgot was on the board still as my wide receiver one, but we'll worry about that later. I have been mocking him to Steelers a lot recently when I've been doing stuff because that's just what I want personally. Maybe I'm just doing that because that's what I want, but that's kind of the fun about mock drafts is I can do what I want with. No, so with the Chargers up here, 22, I feel like even though it's a little bit cliche, the Michigan connection is real, and I do think there are two players who are worthy of this selection from Michigan. Now, is it necessarily what I would do? I'm kind of unsure about that at the moment. I want to give Herbert more weapons after watching that playoff game where he did not play well, but man, nobody showed up on that offense. The tackle somehow didn't show up. The receivers didn't show up. I'm surprised the coach showed up. Like it just was a disaster. And obviously Matthew Golden's still on the board, who I think would be a great complement to what McConkey brings you out of the slot. So that makes a lot of sense for me. But it's kind of up in the air. Like Loveland also makes a ton of sense. Is that kind of more safety blanket type that might work better with Herbert. Running backs need, but I'm not ready to take a running back on this team quite yet. I think what Dalvin's gave you, assuming he can stay mostly healthy, was good enough there. I think just because based on my board, I have to go with Golden here. I think add some more weaponry to help Herbert out a little bit there. And then Dalton, what do you have for the Packers, who are notoriously picky about certain things, but we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, I don't have time to go through there.
Yeah, it's like other measurables, their intangible, whatever the hell else they like, their thresholds. Yeah. We get it. You're cool. All right.
That being said, a lot of options here.
There is.
So wide receiver, I do think is probably the biggest need, but I don't think there's any here that I think right now. Any that I had a first round grade on are all off the board.
I agree.
So yeah. I think we're gonna save that for a day 2 pick.
Packers Central right there, man.
Yeah.
Just add how many day 2 receivers can we draft? No.
Right here though, there's a guy that's staring me in the face that I can't believe is still on the board, and I think helps him out in multiple spots in the defensive line. Give me Nick Scorton.
Ooh. All right, Scorton.
Gives him some edge help.
He is their type. Body. He is also their type, coincidentally. So that does make sense as well. They like him big and chunky with the Packers. That's all I'm going to say there. Don't quote me on that, but that's a good way to describe it personally to me with their edge group.
Yeah.
And then Jake, you're up here with the Vikings at 24. Oh, good.
I mean, their season ended because they got ran all over. This year, so adding Scorton, I think, helps out a lot with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go Benjamin Morrison.
Yeah, I'm very curious what ultimately happens with him because the medicals on him are going to be really important with the hip injury. But if he's good to go and can actually do stuff during the draft process, he obviously had a lot of pedigree coming into the year. Curious where he ultimately ends up landing once we get to this point. But I do get the chance here with the Vikings. Makes a lot of sense here. So get him off the board.
I think they only have one pick in the first.
I want to say
3 rounds
that
or it might
I
be first 2
forget
rounds. But
for sure with them, but I think their second round pick was given up in that trade for the edge rusher. Yeah, 56 is to the Bills. So, but yeah, so we'll get to that here in a little bit. Let's jump back up to the Texans here again. For me, I mean, the receivers board got wiped out, which is unfortunate because they really need weaponry with Diggs probably not returning, and even if he does, coming off an ACL. Tank Dell, who knows what his future is, unfortunately, with him, with his knee injury, devastating. Nico Collins definitely needs some help out there, but a little too early. Maybe you look in that for on day 2 or day 3. Interior offensive line is just such a huge need. It just is. Like, I mean, you watched this team play last year, and you're like, what in the world are they doing on the interior of this line? To me, the best pure guard left on the board is Booker. Jackson would be fun because he does offer, he showed really good tape of guard and tackle, which is intriguing. But I think Booker, especially with his pass blocking at this point, like especially in the interior, he's a wall. When I watched him on tape as a pass blocker, I think they need that a lot. He's a smart player that got a lot of respect from Alabama during his time there. So I'll take Booker here at 25. Dalton, you're up here with the Rams.
So this is tricky because we just don't know what the Rams are going to be like.
It's hard to say. With the Cup trade incoming at some point, Stafford keeps being in rumors, which, hey, I mean, I'm not really I don't think he's going to be enough to change the future of this team for next year, but I'll take him as just the other. Why not? That keeps being brought up.
I mean, if you're running this offense like it has in years past, I think there's a really good fit with Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, that defense just needs so much help. That's the tricky thing. But I mean, I don't know. They had a lot of guys step up on defense.
Yeah.
They might be able to get away with not picking defense here, but I think Colston Loveland's probably the best out of their needs. I think he's probably the best player available, in my opinion here. Loveland.
All right. That would be a very interesting addition because they didn't get much out of Higbee because he was injured for a lot of the year from the year previous, but they do like those tight ends in that offense at times.
Yeah.
He offers a completely different type of skill set that they've had at that position a long time.
Yeah. He can block. That's the biggest thing.
Especially if you widen him out to the perimeter or on the slot as well. Makes a lot of sense there.
They're going to do a lot of stuff with that, and they're going to do a lot of stuff in the screen game.
Absolutely. All right, leveling here. The Ravens up on the clock, Jake. What are you thinking for this team that had the chance to kind of rewrite their history a little bit under Lamar Jackson, but wasn't able to quite get it done with the Bills? What do you think they need to do to try to get over that hump here?
Can you go to edge rushers?
Got Shamar Stewart up here, Jack Sawyer, then Donovan Ezraku. A lot of fun names here in this group. Still on the board. Any other positions you want me to throw up here?
Can you go to corner?
Let me actually get just the corners up so you can see that a little bit better. So Ja'Day Barrett's still sitting here. Trey Amo, Siobhan Ravel.
I think I'm gonna go Ja'Day Barrett.
Feels like a Ravens type of player. Could kind of do anything they need on whether it's in the slot or outside. They had a lot of issues in the secondary, kind of until they moved Hamilton back to safety, weirdly enough, which I know a lot of people were worried about them doing that, but it ended up helping a lot. So maybe this helps them kind of do more of that going into next year. All right, the Lions up for me. I got to take an edge. You got to get more pass rush in this room next to Hutchinson that was desperately needed last year. I mean, Stewart is not quite the type of player that I think that they necessarily need, but I think he's the most talented left on the board. I worry a little bit about whether he's going to be able to turn some of the talent into production at the next level, but I haven't quite gotten to him yet as a full evaluation. So I do think I'm going to end up going with him here, although I mean, the offensive line, I think, is in a good place now, but it is a little bit older on the interior, especially. Could look at that, but yeah, I think, yeah, I'm going to go with Stewart here. Just again, another edge rusher in that group. And if anybody can get the most out of him, you hope it'd be a Lions team that tends to do that with just about everybody they bring in. So, go Stewart here.
All right.
Commanders up for you.
So the Commanders' defense was an issue last year.
Yep.
Problem is, I don't know if you can really fix the defense with the 29th pick in the draft.
It's fair.
Don't know if you can do that. One thing that you do also need to do, though, you need to protect Jaden Daniels. He cannot get hurt, and he is a fragile boy. Just is. And the guy I think is probably the second best tackle, and my second best offensive lineman in this draft is Ariante Ursery. So him still sitting here at 29 is just too good to pass up.
I kind of felt like that was the direction you were going to go.
Can't roll with Brandon Coleman as your left tackle moving forward, anyways.
Yeah, so fair.
Like I get he was a rookie and he has time to grow, but he's not he shouldn't be doing it at left tackle, protecting protecting the whole franchise.
That's hard to really argue with you there. So we'll see how that plays out. But I thought that was where you're going to go. So I have the tackles prepped, ready to go. And then the Bills up at 30 here, Jake. I don't know what you're thinking, but there is a position that they desperately need, and it has been kind of underdrafted in this draft, if being honest. It's ironic because we're going to be doing this group next week, and I feel like once we get through all of them, this draft might go a little differently since it's what we would do. But a lot of guys on the board here that would make a lot of sense for the Bills. But
yep, that's where I'm going to go. I was thinking of doing receiver when I realized I had this pick, but I think, especially with how much D-line talent there is right now, I'd rather take a receiver later. And corner also is something I would want to do, but I see Walter Nolan right there. So
fun pick. I think personally now,
I think especially just watching how the Eagles beat the Chiefs after the Bills couldn't stop the Chiefs. I think it's got to be D-line here. I'm going to go Nolan.
I'm just getting Nolan off the board here. I probably just throw this out there would have gone Kenneth Grant because they need some beef in the middle. But Nolan is a electric player. Now, we'll see if he can kind of continue this upward trajectory. Didn't really do a whole lot in his career up until this past year, but certainly fun watch at the Senior Bowl and on tape. So I got the runner-ups to the Super Bowl here with the Kansas City Chiefs. They need tackle help to a point where it's like, I mean, if you watch that game and you don't really, I mean, I know it's the Eagles front, but like if you watch that game and don't think they need tackle help, I don't know what to tell you. Unless you think Kingsley Suamataia is going to all of a sudden be like a quality starter as early as next year, even then, probably still need help there.
Well, you don't want to entrust Patrick Mahomes' protection to the husk of what once was Joe Thuney?
Yeah, I think I'd rather not do that, if I'm going to be honest with you. For me at this point, and he's been sitting on the board for a while, and it's mostly just because I like the fit of some other offensive linemen elsewhere. Josh Simmons, to me, is the best tackle left on the board, pure left tackle. I think he'd be a great fit for what they're trying to do. And just you run this card and assuming the health checks out with the knee, but I'm sure it will. So we're going to take Simmons here at pick 31. Dalton, for the Super Bowl champs, what are you thinking?
Go back through the picks a little bit and see.
So we got Simmons, Nolan. He took Ursery, Stewart, Barron, Loveland.
Can you pull up Edge?
Yeah, I can pull up the edge rush group here. There is a guy that I already know is going to stand out for me as a Eagles type of guy, but this is the edge group that we're working with here.
All right. Yeah. So. And then, can you go back to offensive line?
Yeah, I'll throw the whole board up here.
Yeah. I think this is tricky here because the Eagles don't have a lot of holes.
You don't say.
Hard to say. Yeah. hard to like figure out like what are they going to need, depending on who doesn't come back.
Mhm.
I think with the way the board's shaken out, if Brandon Graham retires, maybe we just do go edge here, and similar bigger edge. Let's go Landon Jackson here.
Okay, all right. Let's go at Landon Jackson. And you have the Browns' second pick here, Jake, at pick 33. We took just as a reminder, Shedeur Sanders at pick 2 was Dalton's pick here. So you got your quarterback. Definitely a bunch of really talented players still on the board here. So you have a lot of options here. But where do you think you want to go with this Browns team?
Yeah. I saw a mock like 2 days ago that had Quinn Ewers at this pick. So it's a shame that Sanders.
Yeah, it's a shame. Shame you could have ruined the Browns forever. No, you could have finally taken the one quarterback that actually ruins it forever. Period. No matter what they do. No, just at this point, I'm making fun of Quinn Ewers has become my job, but I don't really want to be that guy. So we'll skip on that.
Yeah. Can you go to tackles? I feel like I want to protect.
So Josh Connerly sitting here. Donovan Jackson is listed as a tackle. I think he can play either spot at this point. Cam Williams, we kind of know the book on him a little bit. Some other guys here that kind of fit different molds, but
you can't undo a pick here, can you?
no, I don't think so.
I just realized there's somebody still on the board that
is it Jack Sawyer by chance?
No, Walker's still on the board, isn't he?
Walker, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Walker, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see him because they have him so far down.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to him yet, so I do not know my thoughts on him, so I didn't worry too much about it. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I will say, like, if you want him to play edge, the Eagles would certainly draft him to play him at edge. Like that's where
I just realized. I was like,
yeah, we'll get him off the board here soon. But what are you thinking here, Jake?
Can you go back to tackles? I really, really like Donovan Jackson, but this feels a little bit. I'm gonna go Connerly.
Yeah, he's the pure left tackle type that's left, I think, to me.
Yeah.
Of this group. So I think that makes some sense. Good athlete. Could play tackle probably right away for you. I think he would do well enough, early on. And then I'm up with the Giants at 34. So just to remind myself, we got Hunter here at 3. I got him there. You took him there. So you address defensive back, which is good. Tackle, the offensive line is still an issue for this team a little bit. Not quite as dire as it was 2 years ago, but it's still up there. I'm not ready to take a swing at any of the quarterbacks yet. They're left on the board. I think even though it isn't necessarily a need, considering they have maybe the best player in the sport at the position, I like the idea of just basically telling teams to screw themselves and having Kenneth Grant play next to Dexter Lawrence. That's the funniest interior defensive line duo in the history of the sport, because it's basically two of the freakiest freaks to ever freak at 330 plus, 340 plus at the same defensive line. That makes me laugh, so I'm going to do that. I think it's just funny. I will take Kenneth Grant here at 34. Dalton, you are up.
All right. So the Titans, I think, they're just going to be bad for a little bit.
Probably.
Just the way we're looking with them. Not getting a quarterback. At least not here. We'll wait a little later to take another late round quarterback.
Hey, if it hasn't worked 2 times, maybe third time is the charm. Yeah.
But we'll at least try to give Will Levis some help here on the offensive line. We'll take Donovan Jackson here.
Donovan Jackson. All right, let's get him off the board. Jake's like, oh. All right, so we got the Jags up
Are
here.
you going to convert him to center for the Jags?
I don't know if that
Probably can do it.
Hey, third line position, why not? Just so you know, we do have Will Johnson on this team, so that's the first pick. And look at the board here. If you need me to filter anything out, let me know.
I could take another corner and just have
going from like the worst, one of the worst quarter rooms to one of the best potentially in like two. It's kind of what the Eagles did, right? They just like, hey, we're not good at corner. Let's just take the two best ones basically, because why not? Because the league hates itself and lets us do shit like that all the time. So, well, no, go ahead.
I kind of like Tylee.
That's the name that I immediately saw because I'm like, they need some interior line help, especially as a run defense type guy. So that would make some sense.
I would have taken Donovan Jackson here, but I'm just gonna go Tylee Williams. I think.
All right, yeah. And now I'm up with the Raiders' second pick. Oh boy, what do I want to do for this team? So we have Cam Ward, which Jake was very happy to do, which don't blame him. So I do want to include you guys a little bit in this discussion because there's one player that's staring me in the face that I think would be very, very fun to add to this team, considering the absolute black hole this position was for this team a year ago.
Yeah.
Marion Hampton's staring me in the face.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as the Genty talk at 6, I think is a little bit insane, despite how good he is, because his team just isn't that good to be taking a running back at 6 overall. I do think you could absolutely take one in the second round.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's the name that immediately comes to mind. Because receivers are still a little bit, because they really flew off the board. I think it's a little early for any of the other guys, as much as I like some of them. Corner, I mean, Siobhan Ravel's sitting there, Trey Amos, guys like that, but I haven't watched those guys, so I'm not as willing to take them here. Not when Hampton's staring me in the face. So I think that's where I'm gonna. Yeah, I think that's where.
You should not take him, so I can take
right.
him.
See, that would be nice, and I'm. No, I'm going to take Hampton here, and I'm sure Jake, as much as you'd like to take him with the Bears, you'll take him for your Raiders.
I'm thrilled with
this. Take him with the Raiders.
Yeah, that's a great. I think if Ward falls at 6 and Hampton falls in the second round, that's about as good of a draft as you could hope for. I think.
Fair enough.
You mentioned taking Genty at 6. Yeah, that happens in the nightmare scenario where the 2 corners go off the board and the 2 quarterbacks and Carter are the first 5 picks.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
And you can't trade back. That's the nightmare scenario where you're just stuck taking Genty at 6.
It's like you're like, all right, I guess we'll enjoy having Genty, but like, will it actually matter? I don't know. It's a risk. Yeah. I get it. But all right, Dalton, you're up at 38 with the Patriots here. So the first pick, just so you know, was Mason Graham. I took it for.
Yeah.
So defensive interior you attack. So
we gotta protect Drake May. We can't let him keep getting killed all the time. So he is. I don't know why he is so far down, but my next best available offensive lineman that I think you could play at either tackle or guard, and your team that isn't trying to win right away, so it's all right if you have to develop him a little bit. Give me Emory Jones.
Oh, that's right. I remember you're a big fan of Emory. Yeah.
Oh my God, he is way down.
173. That's admittedly like I don't have him quite that far down, but he is closer to like let me say he's closer to 100 than he is to 38 for me. But I also get the upside with him as a guard, especially in my opinion. But so you want to take Emory Jones here.
Yeah.
All right. Jake, I know I took Marion Hampton from you. I don't apologize because I sent him to your Raiders, but what are you thinking here with the Bears at 39? With the last, I believe the last remnants of the Bryce Young trade here, I believe is the last. Which, hey, it kind of actually looks like it might not be the worst trade in NFL history. Well, it never was going to be Deshaun Watson's worst trade. But that's second. The worst trade that didn't involve sexual assault. Let's put it that way. We'll throw that as the de facto like way of separating those two. Not looking quite as bad as it could have anymore, but still rough for the Panthers. Still probably. What are you doing here at 39 with another pick coming up that won't be you doing it, but think about that as well. You have a couple picks coming up here.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. Okay, well, with that in mind, can we go to running backs?
Well, with that in mind, you have your
You're gonna
boy.
make your fun pick. So
I'm not doing it.
So you have your boy, Caleb Johnson. I mean, a lot of the running backs still on the board. We've only had 2 come off the board, so it's a lot of options still here.
I'm sorry, but Cam Scatterbo, I don't care how much you like him. He has no business being on 46. That's insane.
Hey, I'm not
I know.
drafting him.
They say,
I'm
don't
not
look at me.
drafting
What do you say?
No, this is directly at PFF.
This is
Get
the
it
same
together.
website that sends Jensen to the Colts every
Fair
time.
enough. Yeah, I guess
Get it together, PFF. You can't have a running back that might run a 4.640 at 46.
Hey, he may run the 40 in 4.6 seconds,
But he's a dog.
But he has heart, Dalton.
He passes the eye
He has
test.
grit. You might even say he's the first guy in, last guy out.
He's Peyton Hillis.
Hey, Peyton Hillis was the
He
Madden
brings his-
cover athlete one time, Dalton.
For
Remember
1
that.
year.
Remember that. And on a Browns team, if no less. Scouted on the Browns, actually, I don't hate the idea of that in general, but whatever. Anyway, where are you going here with that then, Jake? If it's not Cam here.
Here I'm going
Yeah,
Caleb
okay,
Johnson.
fair enough. Yeah, he would definitely be, I think, welcomed by Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Same last name.
Having a pick right after
Helpful.
this too makes me feel more comfortable because I wanted to address the trenches, but I mean if you got we'll see what Dalton does, but if you have another
Jake's like, well, hopefully Dalton. I can giving him a layup. Hopefully he sends it home. No. All right, Saints up at 40. We took Jake took Ted McMillan here, 9. Definitely makes sense. Man, you could go almost anywhere with this team because like realistically, for me we're gonna go interior defensive line. The best guy on the board left for me among the guys that I've watched at least is Derek Harmon out of Oregon. I think he has a shot to go in the first round. I know a lot of people put him in first round mocks. His season with Oregon was pretty ridiculous production wise, especially as a pressure getter from the inside. He has enough size to play the run. He was really more known as a run stop type of guy before he moved to Oregon this past year from Michigan State. So I'm going to be taking him here for the Saints. They're their type of guy. So Dalton, 41 for you.
So we're gonna keep it simple here. Stick to the offensive line, and we're gonna go Cameron Williams here, and we're just gonna convert him to guard.
All right, right away. Just go ahead and throw him right in guard right away. You think?
Yep. Maybe try him at tackle, but I mean, because he could be a good tackle on their team, but I think they have such big needs at guard right now.
Yeah, I think if they take him this early, it's going to have to be to play guard because I think the tackles they have in place are definitely better than him right now, at least. Also, just want to throw this out there, a comment we had. I'm happy with this draft as a Raiders fan. I hope you are because I don't think we could have done a whole lot better than we've done.
No.
To be honest with you. So I hope you definitely like that there. That's it. But no, so the Jets pick here now, Jake. What are you thinking here? They did pick just to make sure you remember I took Tyler Warren for them at 7 because I don't care.
I want to go DB here, especially because they could be losing Reed free agency. But I think because there's some talent on that team, and they'd probably like to win sooner rather than later, I think I'm going to take a quarterback.
All right. We did this before. This is not the first.
I'm taking Jackson.
All right.
Yes.
He's the third quarterback off the board in this situation.
104 at 42.
Whatever.
That's beautiful.
Man. Hey, listen.
I think they're going to want to get a quarterback before the run of quarterback starts to go.
I do think like early day 2 is the start of that range. I do. So I agree with you there, Jake. All I'm saying is Jackson Dart with the Jets sounds like an absolute disaster waiting to happen. Now, I'm going to give Aaron Glenn the benefit of the doubt that it's not going to be the same old Jets. But, man, if it is, oh, boy.
The offense is run the ball and then sometimes run play-action bootlegs with Dart and hope he can either run or throw it to Tyler Warren.
That's pretty much the whole offense. Yeah, that's really the only thing I think you could do realistically. Which that's probably better than what they've been getting somehow, despite last year being what it was. But whatever. So Dart goes off the board. Back up here at the Niners. I believe. Yeah, you took Banks. I believe was it right, Dalton? Yeah, Banks here. So offensive line's been addressed a little bit there. I think they could go back to it. But at this point, I think defensive line help is something they still need. I think edge is a weird thing because Bosa's there, but like outside of him, like I don't know if I trust anyone else at this point. Defensive tier could still use some help with Hargrave expected. I think he either is going to be cut or is expected to be cut, or maybe already is cut. I don't really know at this point. I've heard that with his name being thrown out there a lot. To me, I haven't watched again. I've only watched the interior guys so far, so the edge rushers I haven't watched. But I think Sawyer is a guy that could go kind of fall in a lot of ranges for me because I generally don't like his archetype of edge rusher that I've heard he is. But I do think that he's obviously the highest rated player left on the board here at the edge and defensive interior spot. I think I'll add him to that edge rush, and you have the whitest edge rush in the league, which maybe I'm sure Nick Bosa will be pleased to play with Jack Sawyer. Is all I'm going to say about that. So we'll throw him to the Niners here at 43. Dalton, you're up with the Cowboys, who did do the thing thanks to Jake. They did the thing. So kind of have board to yourself here as far as like different possessions you can target.
Yeah. Could be Golden here. I think this could be
Golden.
Or not or no, why did I say Matthew, what's the last name? Wide receiver from Texas.
Matthew Golden?
Yeah, Matthew Golden.
He's
yeah.
He was taken.
Oh, he was taken. My fault.
Yeah. That's why I was going to say I'm like Matthew. 22 at the Chargers.
Oh, my fault.
I was going to say, wait a second. What? No.
All right. Well, then we're going to do the really fun thing. And we're going to take Jalen Walker here and put him and Mike Parsons in the same defense. And
there it is.
Be a nightmare for opposing offensive coordinators.
That's a great fit for sure. I get that one. Because regardless of what you think of Walker, which again I haven't watched him yet, I don't know where I fall with him. That seems like a nightmare. Yeah.
Because those two can be anywhere at any time.
And you don't know.
And you don't know.
Fair enough. Can already argue with that. Jake, you're up here with the Colts. They chose. Oh, that's right, Isaiah Bond at 14. So that's fun.
Hey, I mean, if that's if
you don't have to explain yourself, Dalton. We know.
All right, Shayne, go to wide receiver.
That's what you have to do to make him successful. That's the only thing you can do.
Who's the fastest receiver on the? That's Johnson. Welcome to the team. No. Where do you want to look here for the Colts here? Tight end still a need, despite Dalton thinking that they're either going to go with the tight end or receiver, and that's the whole offense. Edge or defensive back is the listed needs here, but what are you thinking here? A lot of good corners still on the board.
You go to the Yeah, I'm heavily leaning corner, but I want to check.
Let me check tight end here. So Gunnar Helm is the highest rated one on the board. Elijah Arroyo is obviously a fun one.
I like Arroyo, but maybe not.
Fannon's there.
Why not?
I'm going Shavon.
Yeah, that's fair. Can't really argue with that. I'm getting him at a discount because the whole injury situation. We'll just say that on this situation. Falcons up. We took Mike Green because we want this team to actually be able to rush the passer, unlike the Falcons for some reason. I could honestly argue for taking another pass rusher here if I wanted to. I'm not going to, I don't think, but I do think they could use like a slot receiver type on this team. That would be interesting to me. I like the receivers they have there with London and Mooney, who played really well for them last year for the most part, outside of some, let's say, untimely drops, but it's the Falcons, so what are you gonna do with that? Corners still definitely something you could look at as well. Wanted to throw that back up here. Amos is sitting here. I like Porter. From what I've seen of him, I haven't gotten into the corner evals, but I like his makeup a lot. I think
You could replace Cordero Patterson with Savion Williams.
that's true. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. That's a fair comparison of players for sure. Not sure if the Falcons are looking to add a Cordero Patterson back to the team, but they probably should. Um, I think I haven't watched corners, but the secondary definitely got abused last year. But part of that is the fact that they couldn't rush anybody. So maybe that's more of a rusher problem than a corner problem. Um, Man, this is actually kind of tough. I think.
Let's go another
I
edge
mean, I
rusher.
could easily. It wouldn't be like it really wouldn't be a reach to do that. Like I think it would make sense, but I think they're at least gonna find someone to play. I mean, Judon's still on the team as bad as he was, and they are paying him, I think, money. So yeah, it's kind of a tough position to be in. I'll go Amos here. Add some more corner help there. So
All right.
all right, Dalton, you're up with the Cardinals. They chose James Pierce Jr.
All right.
16th pick.
So yeah, we gotta go offensive line here. Just have to. And Wyatt Milam's staring me in the face there.
Makes some sense.
I think that's just too easy of a pick here, especially because I think if he had to, he could play guard. But I think you'd like him to be one of your tackles right away.
Probably the right tackle. You want to try to get him to play opposite of Paris Johnson.
Yeah.
So, all right, go ahead, man. All right, so we have the Dolphins up here for you, Jake. And to reiterate, I did take Armand Membu because I want them to be a real boy. So they did address offensive line. Not that you couldn't take more, but that's where they went the first pick. What are you thinking here? Yep, I was thinking the same thing. And let's throw them up here. Watts is sitting here, wants a junior. Man Warrior, I'm really excited to get to because his stock is all over the place.
I really like him.
So Watts is here.
He
is more of the playmaking back end type. Man Warrior is more of the do it all, put him anywhere you want type of safety in this class. I'm still I really wish Winston Jr. got to play a full season, but I think he's going to end up being a later pick just because of missing time. Kuba has his fans. Safety class is better than I thought it was going to be from what I've heard, and I'm curious if I end up feeling the same way when we get to them. But
can you scroll down on the order a little bit? I think the Dolphins have a pick somewhat soon after this.
I don't think they have another pick in the second round. So no,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm wrong. Could you go to D-line?
So we got TJ Sanders, Norman Lott, Darius Alexander, Collins, Walker. Walker's a tough one. I don't know what to do with him at this point, but we'll get there.
I think I'm just going to go Watts.
Okay.
I really wanted to do Worry, but I just feel like it's a little early.
Watts. There we go.
Watts.
And I'm picking for the Bengals. How can I ruin their day? I was kidding. Mike Williams pick. Again, they need defense. I think you could easily take another edge because I wonder if Trey Hendrickson is long for the Bengals, considering they don't seem interested in paying the guy that was the most productive pass rusher in the NFL last year. Which, why would you pay a good player when your defense is bad, right? Whatever. Yeah. They could need linebacker help because I think it's not Wilson, but the other starting linebacker for them, Pratt. I think Jermaine Pratt. Looks like he might be on the chopping block, potentially the trade block. So that could be helpful. You could get a Jahad Campbell in there that has some edge versatility potentially too, and kind of play all over the defense for you. I think Campbell makes a lot of sense for what they could end up actually needing here. So go Jahad Campbell here for the Bengals. And then Dalton up with the Seahawks at 50. They took Gray Zabel, or Jake, I believe, took Gray Zabel for them. Pick 18. So what do you have for them here?
I think here, you already got a little defense, or you already got a little offensive line help there. I think now you can kind of maybe try to get some talent on the defense. I mean, this is a team that I think is probably closer to a rebuild than they are to contending, to be honest. So we're just going to get a guy that I think is going to be really productive for them for a long time on defense. I mean, Ezraku.
All right, fine. Yeah, add to that edge group. So there we go. And with the Bucks here, Jake, you're up here. I took Luther Burden for them at pick 19. So got some receiver help in case Godwin goes, even if he doesn't. Could be a fun long-term piece. So what are you thinking here?
I'm between Demetrius Knight Jr. and Princely.
Both positions of need potentially. Levante David may not be long for the NFL in general, but also may not even be long for this year. We'll see what his decision is there. But he's only getting older despite still being a good player, so linebacker could be making sense. And then Princely, probably the most juiced up edge left on the board currently, if nothing else. So
I think I'm going to go Princely.
all right. Help out that pass rush for the Bucks. And I'm with the Broncos, which I believe, Ibuka, great pick for them, pick 20. So you help out the offense. I do think this is going to be where, despite not watching him yet, I've heard enough about him to think he could be a really good piece for this defense. I'm going to take Eman Worry here for the Broncos at 52. I think he could be definitely a fun piece for them. More maybe closer to a Justin Simmons type that they don't have anymore with, big, strong, full-size safety back there. And so, Dalton, you have a Steelers pick. You have the second Steelers pick.
Just to check, Sebastian Castro is too on brand for you.
Yeah, it's a little bit too on brand. Yeah, I don't know about that.
All right.
Adam Matter was the first pick for the Steelers. Just a reminder, they addressed wide receiver position. Where are you going here?
I want to do it. I kind of want to do it here because the offense is already set up for this player, and I think he's an upgrade over what they had last year. I feel like you can talk me out of it, Shayne, but I kind of want to go Jalen Milroe here.
I know.
I mean,
I knew you would.
Think about it. It's the offense you ran with Fields last year, but with more upside.
What if you just brought back Fields?
Yeah,
but that's going to be more expensive, and you have less contractual control.
Yeah. Here's the only thing I'll say about this, because I'm not going to tell you not to make this pick, right? Because you need to take swings at quarterback when you have the opportunity. Milroe has a lot of physical talent. I'm just going to say, at this point with him, I would be surprised if he doesn't end up playing a different position for the Steelers if they draft him by the time his rookie contract is over. That's kind of where I'm at with him. Now, that doesn't mean that he couldn't still be useful.
Yeah.
Right?
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah. But I would not be that surprised if he isn't playing quarterback by the end of his rookie contract, wherever he ends up getting drafted. So that's the only thing I'm going to say about it. But I will not contest it if you'd like to make the pick.
I just think that right now I'm just looking at the roster, especially with getting a wide receiver in the first round. I think you just need a little more juice at the quarterback position. And I think if you just draft Milroe and run the Eagles offense,
you're running the Arthur Smith offense no matter who's the quarterback. That's the end. That's the end all be all of it. That does not mean that Milroe can't do that because it's not entirely this well built, highly thought of passing game or anything like that. It's just not like he can't do it. But you are running the Arthur Smith offense, which it is what it is with him.
But the offense, with Fields, it was basically predicated on Fields running the ball a lot. If that's going to be your offense, I think Milroe is a little bit better at that. I can't talk myself out of the Milroe pick here.
All right, that's fine.
I think he gets them to 11 wins.
If Milroe were to win the Steelers 11 game next year, then I don't care what position he plays in 2 years. So I guess it's fine.
They go from 9 wins to 11 wins with him, I think.
Can you believe it, Jake? Get ready to write the stories. No. We're going to go with the Chargers here next, Jake. So they took Matthew Golden, or I took him for them in the first round. So they addressed the needed wide receiver. You pair him with Ladd McConkey. I love that. Everything else, it needs some work here still. Where are you thinking here with this pick? More offense, looking for defensive help, despite them being able to be kind of coached up to a top defense last year. What are you thinking here?
So J.K. Dobbins, as I see now, is a free
Yeah,
agent.
I expect him to be back. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep him
I would
around,
think so.
try to keep him around pretty heavily. But running back is going to be a conversation for this team, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm stuck between adding. I don't think I'm going to go running back because I think they will bring Dobbins back, and I'm forgetting the name of their rookie from last year, but I really,
Kamani
really
Vidal.
like.
I liked him too.
Very young. Yes, I like him too. So I'm not going to go running back. Can you go
Yep.
to receiver?
It's an interesting group
Because
of guys, for sure.
Yeah, I love Lad McConkey, but I'd rather have somebody that can complement him. And Quinn
Yeah,
Johnson
imagine Matthew Golden and another
was
receiver
better,
to this
but
group, and you just have entirely new outside receivers next year for the most part. That'd be kind of sick. If you're a Chargers fan, you'd be like, I love it.
I'm gonna take. Can you go to the? Are you at the top? Oh, okay, perfect. I'm gonna take Jack.
All right. This feels like a Chargers type of player, especially like current Chargers type of player, for sure. So
Coming off a great
yeah,
Super Bowl week.
I am a pretty big fan of him relatively, so I'm not really against this pick at all. Now with the Packers up here at 55, I believe we went. Yeah, Nick Scorton, you went. I believe Dalton. So receiver is definitely something I want to look at. I think of these guys that are left. For me, it would be Jaden Higgins here at pick 55. He's the best receiver on the board for me at this point. I think Restrepo's a really good slot receiver, but I don't really care to add that type of player to the Packers at this point. I think they need more size and kind of versatility outside. I'll take Higgins here at 55. Dalton up here at 56 with the first of 2 second-round picks for the Bills, and the first pick for them again was Walter Nolan that I believe you made, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I think it was Jake.
Oh, Jake might have made. Oh yeah, Jake. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah.
So you have the defensive interior addressed at this point with the first-round pick. Where are you thinking here?
I think defense needs replenished. I think we saw that in the playoffs this year. That was kind of what I think did them in a little bit. That defense is not what it was a couple years ago. So let's look at corner here.
Yep. So if we go to corner, Darian Porter's on the board, Maxwell Harrison, Azariah Thomas, some definitely talented guys.
I'm not super familiar yet with the film on the corners yet. Mm-hmm. But out of this group, I think right now I'm probably leaning Hairston here.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, definitely a good all-star process. So we'll see kind of what his stock looks like, but we can go Hairston here at 56. Texans up here for you, Jake, and I took Tyler Booker for them at 25, which I thought was really good fit for them. Where are you going here now that they address the offensive line with the first-round pick?
Can you go to receiver again? So, this feels like
it's definitely a huge need. Now we're getting a little thin on guys who I think are sure second-round types, at least in my opinion. But Restrepo could play in the slot with Dell potentially missing maybe the whole season. I don't really know what his prognosis is at this point. So he could be a fit here. Other guys here, maybe a fun fit too.
Can you just go to D-line real quick? I'm stuck between receiver.
So TJ Sanders still on the board. He has his fans. Alexander, I know, had a big week at the Senior Bowl. Older player, but a lot of fun there. Omer Norman Watt. So definitely still some interior talent sitting on the board here.
I think I'm going to go TJ Sanders.
All right.
I probably would have went receiver here if there wasn't a couple that were taken just ahead.
Yeah, so receivers have been going off the board pretty heavily here. So we go Sanders here. And then I'm up with the Panthers, who have the Rams pick, which I believe was from the trade-up situation to get Fisk, I think it was in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, for last year. So worked out for the Rams so far. So they took Starks at 8. So they trust defense there. I still think defense is where they kind of need to go. And with the interior defensive line still kind of there, I haven't watched Norman a lot yet. part of the problem with watching him is that you have to watch like every game he played that you could find because he plays like 12 snaps a game. It feels like because Tennessee just rotates dudes in and out like it's nothing. Like it's kind of insane. Like it makes sense in theory, but like it's weird seeing a player of his caliber play like like a third of the snaps I think it is or something like that. It's really weird. But I think I'm going to go Darius Alexander here. I really liked his tape at Senior Bowl. I think he really showed out. He's an older player, more experienced, so not maybe as much upside, but they need guys next to Brown in the interior there. So we'll get Alexander there. So, and then the Ravens at 59 here for you, Dalton. We took, just to remind you, Jahdae Barron at 59.
Gotcha.
So
I think for the Ravens, I think you gotta. I think they need one more wide receiver.
okay.
Just with what's there. I mean, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. It works for them because Lamar is so good, but that duo does not inspire a ton of confidence. Like there's just not a lot there. But a guy that I really like that I think does some similar stuff to Flowers with the after the catch ability, but is much bigger. My top receiver on the board right here is Trey Harris.
I thought that's where you're going to go. Yeah. So Harris is an interesting one for me, but I do agree that like he probably has the definitely the most upside of this group left.
Yeah.
I would say, and they need to kind of try to address that position with somebody who could actually be a starting caliber player long term for them. So I think he fits the bill there. 59. Lions at 60 here for you, Jake. We took Shamar Stewart. I think for them. I think that was my pick here. So address the edge position where you want to go here with the Lions.
Can you go to guard or inside?
So Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, the immeasurable Willie Lampkin, who, what a fun player he is. Like I can't believe the NFL deserves hate for not inviting that man to the combine. We wanted to see Willie Lampkin at the combine. Rectify this right now. Yeah, like he's a fun player, but a very strange build. So surprised to see him ranked this high, but yeah, it's PFF sometimes there for you. But
maybe linebacker.
So Demetrius Knight right away
really.
is the top guy on the board currently. He's lasted a long time.
Yeah,
you got Chris Paul, Carson Schwarzenegger I know has his fans, Jeffrey Bossa. So most of the linebackers still sitting here, I think, at this point.
I think it's got to be Demetrius Knight.
Right. Throw him on the board here. And then I have Washington here at 61. So I think it was, you took Ursary Dalton right here at 29.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got the tackle position looked at. I think I'm going to take Strepo here to play the slot for them. I really don't love the receiver group outside of Terry McLaurin. So I'm just going to take the best player on the board still receiver, which for me at this point, Saban Williams is higher and so is Jalen Rose, but I think that Strepo fits that like slot mold and give Jaden Daniels a quick answer to the pressure that unfortunately probably will still be getting whether Ursary is tackle or not. I think that offensive line still needs some upgrades there. So we'll take Restrepo here at 61. The Bills up for you, Dalton. And just again to remind you, you took Harrison last time. Walter Nolan was the first round pick. So addressing the defense a lot still here.
Yeah. And I think that's going to kind of be where we're going to have to continue to go with where the board's falling. And looking at the roster at edge, I mean, what they have, they've invested in edge, but it really hasn't worked out. Epinesa and Rousseau
I think Rousseau's been a good player, but Epinesa has been a very weird player for them. Like he's been productive at times, but mostly just playing for the snaps.
They need someone that's going to get to the quarterback more, though. That's the biggest thing, and that's why I'm going with JT Tuamalo.
All right.
12.5 sacks this year. They need that.
Very productive player, very high floor player, I would say as well. So makes a ton of sense there. And Jake, you're picking for your beloved Kansas City Chiefs here. Just kidding. I took for them, I think it was my pick, Josh Simmons, 31. So they've addressed tackle. Where do you think they go here?
Oh, no.
I'm not going to do it, but I part of my brain is screaming, just take Cam Scatterville.
He would go to the Chiefs and like either be amazing or flame out immediately. It's one of the two. Like I don't know which one it would be, but it'd definitely be one of the two.
Who did we already pick?
So it was Josh Simmons, the tackle for them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I'm gonna go Omar and Norman.
I like the idea of that for sure. Yeah, I like that a lot. Go Omar and Norman. And I will finish this off, folks, with the Eagles pick at 64. And I mean, we took Landon Jackson, so we addressed edge already. I'm not going to do that again. I do think because Slay is getting up there and DeJean is best, I think, still as a slot player for the most part. Corner could end up being, although they have guys waiting in the wings who they might want to play at that position once he retires. But for me, I would probably take Porter here. Thomas also makes sense, but I think Porter, to me, is going to be the better fit in the scheme that they're running with Fangio there. So I'll take Porter. Darren Porter out of Iowa State here to finish off the draft.
Not taking Kobe Bryant for the jersey sales.
No, they don't. Listen, they don't need jersey sales. Besides, people destroy their jerseys all the time in every parade they have. They're going to have to buy more. It's fine. They're ripping them off. They're setting stuff on. They'll sell enough jerseys. Yeah, exactly. So that'll do it for the 2-round mock. This is the first round for anyone who wants to kind of take a quick look at it. I feel like if we got grades for full drafts, PFF would told us that we suck. But that doesn't matter because that's what we would do for the most part. What would you guys say? Yeah.
Automatic sending gents.
Yeah, right. They're just no, we don't like it. Right. You got to take if you're the coach, you have to take a running back. You just have to. Got to run the triple option. You got to do it. It's the opposite of what Dalton wanted to do with Anthony Richardson. It's just run the triple option instead. No, but I wanted to throw this out before we get out of here. It's been a long show, but what do you think is what would be your favorite pick of this first round that we ended up making? You guys, I'll start with you, Dalton. What was your favorite pick that we made?
I think honestly, Shedeur to the Browns.
Okay.
I think that's especially I think for Kevin Stefanski, I think he'd finally have a quarterback that I think can run his offense.
Will do what he wants him to do. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Will actually throw the ball to a receiver instead of diving.
Yeah, and play within the structure of the offense.
Yeah, because Jameis sort of did that, but then he would sometimes just throw the ball to the other team inexplicably because that's what Jameis does.
He's literally.
And we love him for it.
He's addicted to throwing interceptions.
That man, he needs those picks. He needs them. No. What would you say, Jake, is your favorite? It could be the favorite pick you made. Could be your favorite pick of the draft period. What are you thinking with that?
The homer in me wants to say Cam Ward, but I'm gonna say Jahdae Barron to the Ravens. That feels like a great fit
that would happen, and it would make me mad. So that also makes sense because every time the Ravens take a player in the first round, it almost makes me mad because it's usually a player where I'm like, I thought that guy was underrated, and then the Ravens are like, oh, don't you worry, we know, and then they take him. It's like, God damn it! Like the Hamilton Linderbaum double up. I think it was the same year, right?
Yeah.
I hated them forever.
Yeah.
I will always hate them for that because I'm like, you would take those two players that I loved a lot at the same time. So mad. So upset. I think for me, though, as far as favorite pick, I'm going to go with Isaiah no, I'm just kidding. Armand Membu to the Dolphins because it's a real football team decision. You're playing real football by making that decision. I'm going to keep hammering the Dolphins for that. When we have our live for the Dolphins or for the draft and the Dolphins pick, if there isn't an offensive lineman drafted, I'm going to probably freak out onto his behalf because he doesn't even know that they're messing with him. He doesn't know anything at all. So that's the problem. But they need.
It's gonna be so funny when they take
If
Isaiah
they take,
Bond.
oh, dude, no, that's the funniest. That would be the funniest pick. Because not only would it make me mad personally, it'd make me mad on a fundamental football level too. It'd be the ultimate freak out session for me. I'd be flipping my lid over that.
I laughed so
Oh my
hard.
god! And now I need it to happen for the content. No, but that'll do it for us as far as this first round or this mock draft in general. I think we did pretty well overall. I think we'll see kind of as we get through the positions entirely and we kind of do our last few mocks before draft hits if we kind of feel differently about some of the positions in the class. But just as a reminder, we are getting into the interior defensive line this week coming up. Going to be a really fun episode. I think there could be there's going to be a lot of different players in our top tens potentially because I think there's a lot of different types of players that you might value more over others, but also a very strong group, I think, as far as what I've seen so far. But any last words you guys want to throw out there, whether it's about next week or the draft?
Can't think of anything. I think next week will be fun though with the D lineman.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Really, really good. Yeah, really good class there. So again, it's a big class for all the positions people don't care enough about. So
Yep.
kind of feel like the league needs that sometimes. Though you gotta have your vegetables sometimes. So, but all right, that'll do it for us this week. Check us out next week again, same day, same time, and we'll see you guys then.